Hey guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the free ebook that I made for you guys. We also have a lash course that covers this topic extremely extensively with a lot of different information. This is just a little, just some information that I wanted to share with you guys about working on the inner corners and wispy lashes. I covered this much more extensively in the course. However, I just wanted to share a couple of tips with you. I hope you guys enjoy it and find it useful. Please let me know by emailing me or asking me any questions that you guys may want. And also be aware that we also have the course, the full online course on this subjects with mapping, with all the mapping that comes with it, as well as, PDF format information and much more. So anyhow, let's dig into the information. So I wanted to speak about the inner corners, okay? So inner corners with wispy lashes are a little bit different than you're working with, a regular volume set or a regular classic set. Why is it different? Well, first of all, we keep the same rule of thumb. The inner corners, I usually like to start with the inner corners because I find they're the most challenging. And if you screw up the inner corners, I find the rest of the set just doesn't look as nice. It's the part that I find is the most important to achieve, the inner and outer corners. So I always like to work with inner and outer corners first, following by the rest of the eye, filling in, this part right here. So anyhow, let's dig in. Let's say your base for the wisps is let's say it's seven here in the inner corners. You have 8, 10, 9, 10, 10, 10, 9, and 8. So in that case, you have to remember that the wisp in the inner corners, I wouldn't make it high. Normally, I wouldn't make it more than 1 millimeter more than your base. The reason for this is so if you put the lashes here are usually pretty weak and fragile, and they're usually you can have some baby lashes in the inner corners. That's what makes them so challenging to work with. So if you decide to put a wisp on the inner corner that is, let's say, a 10, what's going to end up happening is that your actual natural lash is going to twist, and then the lash is going to end up like twisting, and it's going to look crooked, and the client is going to end up ripping out those lashes eventually, or pulling them out because it's going to bother her. It's going to obstruct the vision. It's just not going to look good. Aesthetically, it's not going to be nice. So how do you avoid this problem? How do you avoid this specific problem? Well, the way I do it is by never ever going higher than 1 millimeter above the base. So like I said, if you pick the base, the highest number in your base is 7, then I wouldn't go more than 8 for your actual wisp. If your base is, let's say, 6, then you should put your wisp at a 7. So for me, that's really important, and I find that has helped me tremendously avoid this specific issue of the lash being too long and the wisp turning and twisting and just not looking good. So that's what I would do. The other thing that is extremely important to keep in mind is I would generally start, let's say these are the lashes, the client's natural lashes. This is where the client's lash line begins. Only put a wisp after about 3 millimeters after the lash line starts. So I would not put any wisps on the initial 3 millimeters of the client's lash line. Why? The same reason, you know, you want it to look natural. You don't want it to look kind of like protruding, because the wisps, you know, they can give contrast, but if you give too much contrast in the wrong area, it's gonna look sloppy and it's not gonna look good. So I always give 3 millimeters of space first, and then I put my first wisp. So if you guys just remember, for the inner and outer corners, these rules, it should help you guys a lot when you're doing your wispy sets. So rule number 1, I'm just gonna reiterate. Rule number 1 is make sure that you never go above 1 millimeters. That is my rule of thumb, and that has helped me tremendously to avoid